So you want to become a ski or snowboard instructor, whether you're chasing back-to-back winters or you're just dreaming of turning your passion into your career. This is your honest step-by-step guide of breaking into this industry. No fluff, no sales pitch, just what you need to know to get into the industry. So here's the thing. You don't need to be an expert skier or rider, far from it. You just need to be confident on intermediate runs and be willing to learn and listen to what the trainers are telling you. Being a great instructor isn't about throwing backflips. It's about communication, patience, and helping others fall in love with the mountains, essentially. Super crucial. Some of the best instructors I know aren't the best at riding park or anything like that, but what makes them better above the rest is that they care and they purely love what they do. And it comes through. You notice this as well. You get some other instructors that, yes, they maybe absolutely slay the park, but they just don't have that passion for sharing what they know in their lessons as well. So the main instructing or governing bodies that license out skiing and snowboard instructors, and it depends where you are from in the world. So there are a handful of globally recognized instructor associations. All of them follow similar structures and are part of the ISIA, the International Ski Instructors Association. If you're from New Zealand, it's the NZSIA or the SBINZ. I'll leave a link to all these in the description below so you guys can dig into these if you want to. You've got CASI, which is the Canadian system, or CSIA, which is also the ski and snowboard on the Canadian system. The BASI is the United Kingdom's one, and then the PSIA and the AASI are the USA. Australia is the APSI as well. So those are the like your sort of top five. And then Europe's got its own sort of different governing bodies over there. Japan's got its own ones for Japan. But a lot of these different associations teach all over the world as well, not just in their home country. For example, Japan, we get NZSIA come over, also CASI. I think even some maybe BASI courses in Japan as well. So you get a number of these associations that spread themselves all over the world as well. And so which one is best for you would usually depend on where you're originally from in the world. That's usually the best one to sort of start with, but it doesn't always have to be the case as well. You might be from Australia, but then you're doing seas in Canada, and then they have the opportunity to do a course there, so jump on that course there, sort of thing. Like I said, they all sort of cross over and they're all sort of similar levels. Nothing's crazy different apart from them. Some may be slightly more recognised, slightly higher than the others, but generally across the board, they're all very similar. They all get together every year or so and just make sure that the standard is staying the same across all the different associations to keep that sort of minimum standard there. So, part 3, the 2 main different pathways that you can take in order to get your first level 1 instructor's ticket is, the first one is to go direct. So you book to one of these associations, which I just initially went through there in the first part. You reach out to them directly and try and book onto one of those courses, and ideally they're doing them somewhere close to wherever you are, or you may even have a season pass to one of the resorts that's offered. If not, you'll have to travel and so forth. That's probably the cheapest way into the industry, but you're going to have to be, like I said, sort of intermediate level. You can't go in there if you've got no skills whatsoever. You want to be at least confidently turning down blues and bubbly easy blacks, let's say, both the ski or board. So you're great if you live near a training centre, but it requires you to, obviously organise your own gear, your transport, your lift passes, accommodation, the whole show. Whereas if the other option is you go to these all-inclusive sort of packages, there's a number of different companies around the world that offer these sort of all-inclusive. They may even take you from 0 to hero, from never ever right through to level 2, could be an 8, maybe 12-week program. These courses are quite expensive. They're more on the top end, anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000, depending on where you're from. That's kind of roughly where they sort of sit. Quite often that'll include accommodation, lift passes, maybe a meal or two, transfers usually, ski pass, and then a couple of days a week teaching, and then may also include the actual qualification itself. Just have a quick look to see what it does include and doesn't include, and then sort of price that up. 9 times out of 10 they won't include flights and that sort of thing, so factor it all in there. These are quite big in the UK. A lot of people offer these sort of programs to Canada and Japan, where you might be on a course with 50 other people, let's say, and they're all doing a similar sort of program. So yeah, if you've got a good foundation like to work from, there's a good chance you show up and you listen to the trainers, take on board what they're trying to tell you. There's a good chance you can get that over the line for their level 1 initially. Level 2 is a little bit different, but their level 1, if you show up, you show that you're taking on board everything that the trainer's telling you, and you've, like I said, you already got a pretty solid sort of foundation. You can get down blues super comfortably. Safety is the big one when it comes to the exam. If you deem like a major safety breach, you're putting the class or yourself in harm's way, that's pretty much an instant fail. So definitely factor that one and don't put the class in harm's way and put them in the middle of a run or over at the bottom of a jump and try and teach them through beginner drills or anything. Definitely don't do that. That's pretty much an instant fail. So let's say after you've got either level 1 or 2, at the end of the day, you can start applying for jobs just with the level 1. We take on a few level 1 crew through our little ski school that we run in Myoko, which is great. You've got that level 1, shows that you're committed. You got your level 1 cert. We can start training you up and getting you up to a high level sort of instructor. Generally on those level 1 stuff, you're going to be teaching a lot of beginners. unless you've got a pretty good understanding and you can ride quite confidently yourself and you can, ride park yourself, then they might put you on some higher end lessons and you can actually start teaching a bit of park as well, which is great. Or you might get on school routes and these sort of things as well. But if you're still at the intermediate level yourself, they'll probably put you on those beginner to intermediate lessons. You probably won't get those intermediate to advanced lessons just on the level 1. That's when you want to start looking at level 2. Level 2 is a little harder to pass, probably only about 50% pass rate on the level 2. Level 3 is even less. I think it's like a 7% pass rate or something with the NZSIA. So definitely don't think you can just get your level 3 straight on the first crack. It usually takes people 2, 3, 4, 5 goes to pass their level 3. Level 2, you might be lucky enough to pass it the first time. I was fortunate enough to pass it the first time, but yeah, a lot of friends and things that it took them at least a time or two to pass it. And these are actually people that ski or snowboard instruct, but the standard is a lot harder than the level 1. It's very similar to the level 1, the course itself, but everything has to be on point. There's no sort of wiggle room. Your teachers have to be dead on, your analysis has to be dead on, your writing has to be dead on as well. Like they're marking pretty hard. Everything has to be exactly sort of how they want it. And level 3 is another step again on that. I'm only level 2 myself. I haven't actually made that jump to level 3. I'd have to go back and do some serious training to get to that level 3 standard. Everyone sort of falls into their own sort of style of riding, and I know my style was not quite to that level 3 standard, so that's why I've sort of just stayed at the level 2 snowboard myself, haven't gone up to that level 3. But definitely, if this is something you want to take on as a career, 100% recommend working your way through and getting up to that level 3, and then even look at getting your trainer cert at the end of the day as well. But this could take anywhere from 5 to 10 years to get to that sort of trainer level, so be realistic about this as well. So yeah, once you've got that cert, now it's time to start looking for jobs, and you want to give yourself a big lead time on this. Give yourself 3, 6, maybe even 9 months. A lot of different ski schools, especially the bigger ones, will start looking 6 to 9 months out before the season even starts to start looking at bringing that team on for that season. If it's a big ski school, they need 200-300 instructors, let's say. Some of the bigger ones in northern Japan and Niseko, they're looking for 200-300 instructors. A lot of returning crew usually that may be coming from back-to-back seasons that have done a season in Australia or New Zealand. They will come back over and do back-to-back from Japan to New Zealand or Argentina or wherever they might be else from, doing back-to-back winters. So start early, apply everywhere. With your level 1, you can't be too picky. Just get that experience, get that foot in the door. Maybe even try with some smaller ski schools as well. There might be a better shot that they might take you on. Whereas the biggest ski schools said, oh, we can have a look, see, we might get you in just over the busy periods. A lot of these other training providers, they may even offer you a bit of a job at the end of it, or ask, you teach on the weekends or something along those lines as well. But yeah, definitely just try and get that first season experience under your belt, and then from there, then look again your level 2. Once you've got your level 2 and ideally a dual cert, so you can either be ski and board, then you're a lot more employable across any ski school really in the world. If you've got dual cert and one of them's a level 2, level 1, there's a good shot you'll get a good chance of getting a job there. Just your level 1, don't be fussy, take anything you can get basically. If you get a good offer, jump at that. Things you've got to factor in is accommodation and all that. What sort of perks does that come with it? Quite often, ski schools will provide accommodation at pretty subsidised pricing as well, so you might even be free depending on the ski school. A lot of them will charge, but it won't be a hell of a lot, maybe $100 a week or a couple $100 a week max sort of thing. So it makes it quite affordable, because when you're starting out, the base salary for a level 1 instructor anywhere in the world, you could be anywhere from $15 to maybe $25, let's say, give or take. Like that's just a real rough ballpark for your level 1 instructor, and that works its way up. Once you get to level 3 trainer, you could be on $50, $60, $70 an hour. Maybe in the Europe, I think they're even paying 50, 60, 70 euros an hour. So that's your sort of baseline salary. But once you sort of get those high levels, that's when you sort of command those sort of higher prices. That entry level stuff, yeah, anywhere from that maybe 12, 13, 14, 15, right up to maybe $25, let's say, for that level 1 cert. So don't be expected to be making massive bank your first season. But like I said, it's crucial to get that experience on the resume if this is something you want to get into. Also adds value if you've got like your first aid certs, or you're working with kids, or speaking other languages. Another good one, especially for people from Europe, they can speak 3 or 4 different languages. Here in Australia and New Zealand, we barely struggle to speak English. And also if you have avalanche certs as well, that's another good one. If you have your AST1 or any other avalanche certs, that's also a good thing, especially if you want to go into the instructing and guiding. Some ski schools offer a bit of guiding as well, resort guiding, which we also do at Escape Myoko. We have lessons and also a little bit of guiding, just resort guiding around the side country and stuff. We don't go push up to the peak or anything like that, but that's also another great little field to sort of get into. And on your down days as well, to get up and hit the back country, hit the side country is awesome. It's where you want to be sort of on your down days. So to wrap it all up, what's it really like? Some days you might be, stuck in the beginner meadow, it's raining, or it's pretty bleak, It's not every day is Bluebird and Fresh Pow and just the dream clients. You do get groups like that, 100% you do. You definitely do. And some days you pinch yourself thinking, how lucky am I? Like, I'm up here in the mountains, like it's the best job in regards. It's quite physically challenging sometimes, especially you might be on snow for 6, 7, maybe even 8 hours, depending on the day. which is a long day on the snow, so you've got to sort of look after yourself. You can't be hitting the pub every night. Go out a couple of times, but yeah, don't be on it every night because that will affect you over the whole winter as well. So you've got to stay healthy and always look at upskilling, you know, to get in the next course, doing some training. A lot of ski schools will have in-house training as well, which is more times free, and that's with their high-level trainers. So take advantage of that. When I worked with the traditional ski school here in Australia, I did a season at Thredbo. I was going to every training session I could, whether it was just development for my level 2. We ran freestyle Fridays. I was at every single one. Like, I loved it. I was so keen and trying to take on as much knowledge as I could. So be like that. If this is something you want to get involved with, yeah, don't be afraid. Like, put your hand up for all the extra training that these ski schools offer. Like I said, it's all usually free. Whereas if you go to these other organisations where you have to pay, you might be paying $15,000 or $20,000 to get very similar sort of training. So take advantage of that. If you can get your foot in the door with these bigger ski schools that offer this sort of training as well. Yeah, if this is something you're serious about, take your time to have a look at the different options out there. That's giving you a few places to start. And yeah, it depends where you are in the world. Depends what you're looking at doing. If you want to come hit some powder, definitely come over to Japan. If you're more park focused, then maybe look at going to the big US resorts or Canada or, you know, or even Switzerland, Sassvay, some of these sort of big resorts out there have some pretty amazing parks. So it depends what you sort of want. New Zealand, if you want to come shred some ice. No, there's some amazing parks and stuff in New Zealand as well, and Australia. We do have some amazing terrain parks in this part of the world. So if you're into park, come check out Australia and New Zealand as well. But like I said, there's many different options all over the world. Just depends what you're looking for. It's a great community to be part of, and I highly recommend it if it's something, even if it's just something that you want to do just for a season or two, you know, just as something fun to do. It's a great thing to upskill your own skiing. You'll think about skiing in a different way once you do one of these instructor courses. It's almost like having 5 half-day lessons with a high-level trainer, which you'd pay quite a lot to do if you're doing that through a traditional ski school and you're going for lessons. You know, if you're getting one of the high-level trainers, you'd be looking at, I don't know, maybe $300, $400, $500 for a half day, maybe even up to $1,000 for a full day of private lessons. So you're getting with some of the best trainers in the world, and they're like ironing out all your bad habits, and that's over 5 half days, and then you spend the other half of the day working on your teach. So it's usually broken up into 2 components. You've got the teach, and then also your own personal skiing or riding as well. So it's look at it that way as well. It's just good for your own skiing or snowboarding ability. It's a lot different. You can be a good skier or a snowboarder, but being able to teach that is a bit different as well. I know a lot of good skiers and snowboarders, but they would make a pretty lousy instructor. Just they don't have the patience, or they just don't want to do it. They just would prefer to shred with their friends. Well, I totally get that, especially there's days I've missed some good powder days because I'm stuck teaching beginners, but that's just part of the game. Some days you're going to jag it lucky, you get an off day and it's an epic powder day. Other days you'll be stuck in the meadow and you've got half a meter you've got to deal with. But that's all part of it. Honestly, take the leap. If it's something you want to get into, I highly recommend it. Super rewarding job for the right person. If this is something you like and you like to share your passion, definitely recommend doing it. Don't get into it for the money. Definitely it's not a job for good money. But you know, you might end up like us and you might end up shaping your whole life around living in the mountains. So that's my 2 cents on it all. We run courses in Myoko, Japan, so if you're coming out that way, have a quick check what we're doing out there. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below and I'll do my best to sort of get back to you. All right, we'll see you on the slopes.